So these are my favorite top water baits in the summer. And they are Wave Worms Tiki Toads. They no longer make them. They were awesome. You can't find them anymore. It's depressing. You can find them occasionally on eBay or like garage sales, yard sales, but they don't make them anymore, which is a shame. So what we're gonna go over here is essentially just making them from scratch yourself with Plastisol. So soft baits, if you're unfamiliar, use a plastic compound called Plastisol, and that looks like this. And I'm using Alumisol, but I mean really you can use pretty much anything you want that is a Plastisol variety. And what you do with this material is you heat it up on the stove or in a microwave, and then after it cools down it sets up. The process of injection molding is essentially take an injector. This is the injector. It's just a metal tube with a plunger with an O-ring on it, and then you suck up the plastic as you heat it up and then inject it into the mold so it gets into all the cracks and crevices. So this will be a double-sided mold and we'll actually inject it, and you want to have really strong mold material for that. So I went with the Alumilite Vac-50, and the injector I got off of eBay. They're really hard to find otherwise. There's some websites out there that have the injector, but I just went with eBay. This is the medium 4 ounce. I'll probably get, I might have to do 2 pumps into the mold with it, but we'll see how that works out at the end. If you go on the video for this, they suggest if you use larger baits to get a piece of acrylic that's like an inch in diameter. And they say, well, we had some acrylic lying around the shop. Well, I don't have inch diameter acrylic tubing lying around my shop. But what I do have is cork grips for making grips on fishing poles. These are just reclaimed grips. The seller drilled out the old blanks and to sell these, but at any rate it fits pretty perfect in there, except I'm worried that the Alumilite's going to get in there and make it hard to get out. So what I'm going to do is just wrap it up in some plastic wrap. Real high tech here, you know? And either way, I don't really care about this grip, you know? It's a throwaway deal anyway. But that's the best option I came up with. We'll see if it works. A couple pieces of plastic in both ends here. Those are going to be the sprue holes, but essentially all you do is this a pack of paintbrushes. Get this whole pack for $1. And what I am doing with it is just taking the end off there and then put it up in there, and that's where the Plastisol is going to go. And because it's cork, I can throw it right in there. It should be good to go. So I'm going to the midpoint on where I want it to go up. I'm going to find that midpoint with water first, so I know the volume I need of Alumilite. Now that's hitting my line, So that's the amount I know I need for the mold on the bottom half. So I'll measure that volume. So then I know I need 350 milliliters of Alumilite. So now, half of 350 is a 175 of Alumilite per part. And I can take what I'm going to use as my mixing cups. Oh, look at that. It's almost like I knew what I was doing. And then I can take my Sharpie and I can mark my 175 line. Before I do this, I am going to throw on some nitro gloves, which are not here. So when you start this, be sure to go slow, because the Vac-50 has aluminum dust in it, and when you start, there's a lot on the bottom that can get, caught up. I have another mixer for part B. Mixing tub out. I'm going to fill both these up to our line. Then we're going to put 2 parts together in the mixing bin. Use it to mix this. So we're going to throw it in the mold base. Hope everything comes out of there. You see it doesn't spring back as quickly. So now we can lay in what we're going to use here. So I'm going to put that back in there, and we're going to try and layer it on in. Easier said than done, but you know what? I might hit it with a little bit of mold release, not a lot. So this is just paintable mold release you can get from Alumilite. That's good for you. So press these in to position. And you want to make sure these are about halfway down. So your next layer can go over them. Ideally, I want this leg over here, but you gotta dance with the girl that brought you, you know? So I'm gonna let that set up. Pretty happy with that. And come back and do the rest. Okay, so a couple things to learn from this. The 2.5 pound Alumilite Vac-50 kit will probably only get you one large mold. Okay, so what I've done here is I have wrapped or sprayed this with the mold release. Now we're just gonna pour the Vac-50 on it. I might have did too much, but we'll see. We got to get over that big sprue. I think the better way of going about this would have been making 2 separate molds, but you know, what are you gonna do, right? So 1 5-pound kit will yield you 1 large mold, which, whatever, it's not that big of a deal unless you screw up that mold. So hopefully you don't screw up the mold. Okay, so I left this sit out for overnight, and before you saw me mixed the final mix with both of these, and the reason I did that is so that it would dry hard on these, and then I can mix paint with these later or whatever else. So always do that. If you're using epoxy, use your mix on the final mix so then it won't interfere with anything else. Either that or clean it off right away. But who wants to do that? If I can get this out. Probably not. It's hefty. So you can see the seam right there. Let's turn on some light. You see that seam right there? But so I did use the mold release. It is on there. How well it's gonna work, it's a whole different story. I might have to cut it out. Nope. Okay. Okay. You guys are just watching to see when I put this screwdriver through my hand, aren't you? So, how about them apples? It actually worked. You can see there's a little bit of crossover problems we got here, but I'm not too worried. I think we can clean that up pretty good. A little bit of degassing issues, because this should be smooth. Come on, one piece, one piece. Well, multiple pieces. Come on. Do me like that. Oh, how depressing. That's gonna be a hot mess, isn't it? Oh yeah. Came out pretty easy though. Good grief. You could always come back through here with more Vac-50 and fill this up like halfway or something, which I might do later. But I used all of it up, so. And that they'll release when we want them to get out of here, which would be nice. Because currently it doesn't look like they're gonna do that. This side. Oh, there you go. Seems to have worked for that side. They will fit. Oops. Bummer. I call that a success. I'm gonna have to fill this portion up with something, because that's just crazy. Way too much wasted in there. Yeah. Yeah. It's a little hard to see. That's a brown, almost black, but it turned out really good. I'm happy with that. These things get chomped by pike and the legs ripped off all the time anyway, so yeah. How about them apples?